Welcome back to Mind Twist Horror. I know many of you drift off to these stories each night. So before sleep pulls you under, let's do something a little different. Drop a comment below and tell me where in the world you're listening from tonight. It's always fascinating to see how far the darkness travels. And if these stories are keeping you company, go ahead and like the video. Subscribe, so she knows where to find you. Now, lay back, close your eyes, and listen closely, because tonight's story might follow you into your dreams. I used to think I knew every place I'd ever lived in. You grow up in one house, move into another. You remember the creaks, the chipped paint, the cold spots in the hallway that never make sense. You know the shape of your memories like you know the shape of your own hands. But this memory didn't belong to me. At least, that's what I told myself. It began as a dream. A long hallway. Just long enough that I couldn't see the end. The wallpaper, faded, curling at the edges. The lights above me, flickering like they hadn't been touched in decades. But at the very end, a door. White. Plain. Completely still. Except for the light underneath it. Soft, golden light. Spilling out across the old wood floor. And always, that feeling. That something was behind it. Waiting. I don't remember walking toward it. I don't remember reaching for the knob. But I remember the feeling in my chest. That ache. That pull. Like I had to open it. Then I'd wake up. At first, it was once a month. Then once a week. Then every night. Same hallway. Same door. Same feeling. But here's the thing. It stopped being a dream. One night, I woke up. Sat up in my bed. And I saw it. The hallway. Not a dream. Not sleep. Just there. Outside my bedroom. I live alone. There is no hallway outside my bedroom. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The light under the door was flickering now. Like candlelight. Like something was moving on the other side. And then I remembered something I wish I hadn't. When I was 5. I drew that hallway. My mom kept the picture. She thought it was from a dream. I said it was where my other family lived. I called it the memory house. I said I wasn't allowed to go in the white room at the end. That paper. It's still in my attic. What do you do when a place from your childhood drawings starts appearing in your hallway? What do you do when a dream starts following you into the waking world? I didn't want to find out. But it turns out I didn't get to decide. Because at exactly 2:17 a.m. that night, the door knocked first. And somehow, I knew. Whatever's behind it remembers me. I woke up on a couch I didn't recognize. The cushions were sagging. The fabric smelled like mildew and old wood smoke. Everything felt wrong. I blinked at the ceiling. It was made of dark wood panels, carved with little spiral designs. And I thought, I've never seen this ceiling before in my life. So why does it feel like I have? I sat up. The room was quiet. Not peaceful quiet, dead quiet. Even the rain outside felt muffled, like I was deep underground. I stood up slowly, and my bare feet pressed into a rug that felt damp. I looked around the room. Old framed paintings hung crookedly on the walls. A grandfather clock stood in the corner, not ticking. And above the fireplace, a family portrait. Only the faces were blurred. No signal on my phone. No bars. No Wi-Fi. 2:17 a.m. Frozen on the screen. I touched the wall beside me. It felt warm. Almost like it was breathing. I started walking. Every hallway I entered looked almost the same. Flickering candles. Peeling wallpaper. Dust floating in the air like snow. But the rooms didn't connect the way they should. It was like the house rearranged itself when I wasn't looking. I found a kitchen. No stove. No fridge. Just an empty plate sitting on the floor. And a spoon. Already wet. I wasn't alone. I couldn't see them. But I could feel them. That's when I found the hallway. Long, narrow. Sloping downward slightly. There was only one door at the end. It wasn't painted like the others. It was black. Covered in scratches. And nailed across the front. A weather-worn sign. Do not remember. The moment I read it, my hand started to shake. Because that handwriting was mine. I stared at that door for what felt like hours. It wasn't locked. But it didn't feel like it wanted to open. I pressed my ear against it. And on the other side, I heard breathing. It sounded like someone asleep. Dreaming. But I had the strangest feeling. They were dreaming about me. I turned away. Tried to find the front door. Tried to leave. But there was no way out. The house was a loop. Every door I opened wasn't the room I expected. The library was now a bathroom. The nursery had become a dining room, with no table. Mirrors appeared in places I hadn't seen before. But none of them showed my reflection. And the worst part? The note had changed. I went back to the black door. The sign now said, "Remember me." 3 knocks. From the other side. But this time, I wasn't afraid. I was curious. I touched the door handle. It was cold. Not metal cold, alive cold. Like skin. And that's when I heard it. A whisper. Right against the wood. Like someone had leaned in, nose to nose with me. And said, "You're ready now." The door opened. Just a crack. And beyond it? Only darkness. And the smell of wet earth. I didn't go in. Not yet. But I knew. The house wasn't letting me go. Not until I remembered what was inside that room. If you woke up in a house like this, no exits, one locked door with your own handwriting on it, would you open it? Comment "I'd open it" or "I'd stay out." Let's see who's braver. I fell asleep with the rain outside. I woke to silence, and blinking red numbers. 2:17 a.m. I rolled over, closed my eyes again. But when I opened them, still 2:17. Not a minute passed. Not a second. I stayed there for what felt like an hour. Staring. Blinking. Breathing. But the clock didn't care. The moment didn't change. The next night, I moved to the guest bedroom. Just to break the rhythm. I left a note on the nightstand. Test number 1, did I sleep here? I put a mug on the floor. Tossed my shirt onto the chair. Then I closed my eyes. I woke up. On the couch. No note. No mug. No shirt. Just the same blinking red clock. 2:17. That's when I knew. It wasn't just me looping. The house was resetting. On the 3rd day, I found a box on the porch. It hadn't been there before. No label. No address. Just a cardboard cube, sealed with black tape. I opened it slowly. Inside was a single glove. Small. Child-sized. And soaking wet. But it hadn't rained yet that day. I threw the box away. It was back the next morning. Dry this time. The house started making mistakes. Small things. My toothbrush moved slightly each morning. Once the mirror was missing. Then the next night, the faucet ran red, like rusted water. The bread I ate came back with one bite missing again. But this time the bite mark was smaller. Like it wasn't me who took the bite. I tried the radio. It was just static. Until 2:17 a.m. Then, beneath the noise, a voice came through. I unplugged the radio. Didn't matter. Next night, it was on again. Same message. Same time. I found the journal again. The one with the line repeated over and over. You don't remember because you never wanted to. But this time, the last page was gone. Torn clean. In its place. A new page. Fresh ink. Written in my own handwriting. Stop hiding. The loop is mercy. But I didn't write that. That locked black door in the hallway. It started changing too. At first, it was just a door. Plain. No knob. Just wood. Then one night, it had a keyhole. Then another night. I swear it had an eye. Just for a second. A human eye. Blinking. Watching me. And when I got close, I could hear breathing from the other side. Not fast. Not desperate. Calm. Like it was waiting. I only noticed them on the 6th day. 3 paintings on the wall above the staircase. At first, they were just landscapes. A forest. A river. A cloudy sky. But each night, they changed. The trees moved closer. The river dried. The sky turned black. And by the 7th day, the paintings all showed the same thing. The front of the house. But in the last painting, there was someone standing in the doorway. Facing inward. If the world reset around you, but you didn't, what would you do? Would you search for the truth? Or would you let the loop carry you? And hope the door never opens? Comment, break the loop, or let it reset if you're still listening with me. I opened a drawer in a room I didn't remember entering. Inside, my old toy. It was a small wooden horse. A bit chipped. Paint peeling from its edges. I hadn't seen it since I was 8. I remember staring at it in my childhood home. Around that time, I stopped remembering everything else. As I held the toy, something pressed into the drawer. A photograph, half buried under old receipts. I pulled it out. It showed me. Older. In a room I've never been in. Same black door behind me. Only open. My expression in the photo wasn't mine. It looked surprised. As if I'd flicked on a light. And not believed what I saw. I walked to the mirror across the room. The frame was cracked, its reflection slightly warped. I looked in. But it wasn't me. The face staring back was my own. But older. Worn. Tired. And I wasn't frowning. I was frozen. Because the reflection smiled. My reflection didn't move with me. It stayed in place. Reaching its hand to the glass. I flinched. Hit the mirror with my fist. Cracks splintered outward. But the reflection didn't break. As the mirror fractured, the room changed. Candlelight flickered violently. I saw movement behind me. In the broken frame panels. Pale shapes shifting. Then each cracked shard showed something different. Me as a child, doodling that hallway. Me, older, sitting on the couch in this house. Me sleeping. Me, waiting outside the black door. I was seeing all the me's at once. Then, the broken reflection spoke. In a voice. Not my own. Remember. I stumbled back. Mirror crashed to the floor. But the voice stayed with me. It said, "This is the place you forgot. The life you never lived. The door you never closed." I sank to the floor. Rain seeped through the curtains, pooling at my feet. My mind was racing. Past and future unspooling together. I was everywhere. In that moment, I realized the house wasn't a trap. It was a mirror. Reflecting every version of me that ever existed. And now that I was seeing them, I couldn't stay asleep anymore. Because I needed to know. What happened next? If you caught a glimpse of yourself with a different life, would you press on, or run? Comment, "See the other me" to join the search. Comment, "I'd have run to stay safe." That night felt different. You ever feel watched? But there's no one in the room? I wasn't imagining it. The air was too still. The silence felt tight, like something was holding its breath. Then I heard it. The locked door. Not slamming. Not swinging open. Just slowly, creaking. Like it was trying not to be heard. The door was cracked, maybe an inch. Just enough to let out a narrow beam of light. It pulsed. Not like electricity. Like it was breathing. Then came the voice. "It's your turn to remember." I froze. It wasn't the words that scared me. It was the voice. Because it sounded like mine. I pushed the door. It didn't resist. Inside wasn't a room. It was a hallway. Long, dusty. No windows. No sound. And lining both walls were photographs. They were all of me. At different ages. In rooms I didn't recognize. Sometimes smiling. Sometimes crying. One photo showed me sleeping. Last night's pajamas. Last night's bed. But I didn't take it. At the end of the hall. A small table. And on it was a toy. My toy. One I lost as a child. A little wooden horse. But now, it was heavier. The legs were brass. The eye? A tiny, perfect key. SFX, metal glint, soft heartbeat sound. I picked it up. And felt cold rush up my arm. A memory came back. Me, holding this toy, in a hospital hallway. Crying. Saying goodbye to someone I don't remember. There was a door. At the very end of the hall. Unlike the others, this one was old. Ancient looking. The kind of door that feels important. I fit the brass key into the keyhole. The door opened into darkness. Not the kind of dark you get from shadows. It felt bottomless. But I stepped in. A single chair. One mirror. Only now. The reflection didn't match me. It was older. Tired. Wearing a bandage over its eye. It blinked before I did. Then leaned in close. And whispered. "You buried me here. When you forgot what happened." I reached forward. And the mirror reached back. If you had a room inside you, filled with every memory you tried to forget, would you open the door? Comment below. I'd open it or I'd walk away. Let's see who still listens in the rain. I stepped inside. And everything disappeared. No walls. No floor. No ceiling. Just blackness, like the world had turned off. But I could still hear the rain, faintly. Like it was behind me. Behind a door that no longer existed. I looked down, and I wasn't standing on anything. No ground. No shadow. But I didn't fall. I just was. And then I saw him. A chair. Just a wooden chair, out in the nothing. And in it was me. Older. Pale. Eyes darkened with something hollow. He didn't move. Didn't blink. Just stared straight ahead. But his lips. They were sewn shut. Crude, thick stitching. Black thread, looped over his mouth like a zipper made of pain. And in his lap was a journal. My journal. The one I lost in high school. The one with all the pages I ripped out. They started as a trickle. Just one voice, whispering my name. Then another. And another. They overlapped. Multiplied. Voices from every direction. From behind me. Above me. Inside me. They were memories. Or maybe just fragments of things I tried to forget. The figure in the chair finally moved. Not his head. Not his body. Just his chest. He breathed. And then one eye opened. It wasn't his eye. It was mine. A mirror of my eye, exactly as it is now. But instead of a pupil, it held a keyhole. I moved closer. With every step, the whispers got louder. Some begged. Some wept. Some laughed. The journal in his lap opened on its own. Pages flipped by like a wind was turning them, but I felt no wind. And on one page, I saw something scribbled in red. Just 3 words. You buried me. Then the thread around his mouth began to unravel. No hands touched it. It just pulled loose, stitch by stitch. Blood didn't drip. It floated, little red orbs suspended in the blackness. Until finally, his mouth opened. And with my voice, he said, "You know where the body is." A light flickered in the distance. Just a single flame. Hovering. I turned to look at it. And when I looked back, he was gone. The chair was gone. The journal. The whispers. But I still felt them. They weren't behind me anymore. They were inside me. If someone buried a part of you, and left you behind to rot in a memory, would you dig it back up? Comment below. Dig it up or leave it buried. Because some doors don't open. They remember. I woke up. In my bed. Not in the black room. Not in the hallway of pictures. Not facing the man with sewn lips. Just sunlight. Slipping through the curtains. The sound of the fridge humming in the next room. A soft breeze moved the curtain. And for a moment, I thought I imagined everything. Just a dream. A strange, terrifying dream. I even laughed. But dreams don't leave bruises. I went to the kitchen. Still in a daze. Everything felt too normal. But when I sat down to drink water, I noticed something on the table. A book. My sketchbook. The one I hadn't touched in months. It was open, to a page I didn't remember drawing. And on that page, was a floor plan. A detailed blueprint. Of this house. But different. It had a hallway, that didn't exist. And a small mark, a red X, where no door had ever been. I thought maybe I had drawn it while I was half asleep. Or dreaming. But something pulled me to go look. I walked down the hallway. Same creaky floorboard near the heater. Same picture frames on the wall. Everything was as it should be. Until I reached the end. And saw it. A door. Perfectly fitted into the wall. Same paint. Same trim. Same age. As if it had always been there. But it hadn't. I would have known. I'd lived here for 5 years. I walked that hallway every single day. There was no doorknob. Just a tiny brass keyhole. I stood there, staring at it. Waiting for it to vanish. Or shift. Or glitch like a broken dream. But it stayed. It looked real. Felt real. I reached out and touched it. It was cold. And I remembered the toy. I went to my bedroom. Pulled open the drawer. And there it was. That same toy horse. Heavier than it should be. I turned it over. And the key was still inside the eye. I stood in front of the door again. Key in hand. And I hesitated. Not because I was afraid of what was behind it. But because a part of me already knew. Knew what was waiting. Knew who was waiting. Knew why it had returned. I pressed the key into the hole. And stopped. Just before the turn. If you woke up. And your house changed while you slept. Would you open the new door? Comment below. I'd open it or I'd leave it shut. Because some dreams don't fade. Some doors wait. And sometimes it's not the house that remembers you. It's what you left behind inside it. I didn't turn the key. But I didn't throw it away either. I placed it back in the drawer. Right where it had been waiting. Because something inside me already knew the truth. The house was never just a house. It was a memory. A shape I gave to what I buried. And that door? It wasn't built. It formed. Every time I looked away from what I didn't want to feel. I went about my day. Brushed my teeth. Checked my email. Went for a walk. Pretended like everything was fine. But that night, when I turned the hallway light off, the door was still there. No different. No louder. No closer. Just waiting. Like it knew. I wasn't ready. And the worst part? It followed me. I checked into a hotel last weekend. Far from home. Big city. No memories. Just distance. I unpacked my bag. Turned on the lamp. Washed my face. And when I stepped out of the bathroom, there it was. A door. On the far side of the room. Same size. Same trim. Same faint keyhole. It had never been there when I checked in. I know that. I sat on the bed. Staring at it. I could hear the wind outside. The whisper of the city below. And beneath it all, the rain. Still falling. I didn't need to open the door. Because I finally remembered. All of it. Where I was when the voice first whispered. Why the room had no walls. What I'd done. What I'd buried. And who I left behind. Now you remember too. I closed my eyes. And I didn't dream this time. Because I wasn't asleep anymore. I was home. If your memories built a house, what rooms would you lock? And what doors would still be waiting for you to open them? Comment below. It followed me too. Or, I remember now. Thanks for listening to Mind Twist Horror. We'll be waiting.